Google is paying very close attention to what it calls the concept of E.A.T, EAT.
Welcome back. I'm Arsha Mirsha, your host. I'm joined with Alex Swope today, the Swopener. I'm not even gonna. He's a dear friend, but also the resident SEO SME, probably the resident SEO SME, subject matter expert in search engine optimization here at WebMechanix. Years and years of experience under his belt, dealing with tons of different clients, different industries, different sizes. He's seen it, he's smelled it. If it's search engine optimization, this is the guy to talk to. And near and dear to my heart also because that was the first service line of our agency, and therefore like the first kind of marketing channel that I went really deep into. Right. So I love this topic, and thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we want to talk about search engine optimization today. In particular, Google, biggest search engine in the world. I think they have 70 or 75% of the search market share. So what they say goes. You know, what they say goes, and you should probably listen to their guidelines. Speaking of their guidelines, can you tell us about the guidelines?
So this is crazy. So Google actually has a document. It's 168 pages. It's a PDF, and you can just download it. It's available on the internet. And
free of charge.
Free of charge, and it literally details what they consider high quality content. And they go over a couple of concepts in there, but good thing to know about this was written for humans to actually go through and evaluate websites manually. So
Right.
they've got the Google algorithm, which is doing a lot of work behind the scenes.
Right.
But they also have folks going in and kind of like manually checking things and giving.
So hold on, this was Google's guidelines to its own kind of quality search team?
Exactly.
Search and spam team. Really?
Exactly. So
I didn't know all that. I thought it was for webmasters. I guess webmasters could use it too.
No, they have different guidelines that they put out for that. But this is kind of like an internal document that Google put out for these folks. So it's like a step-by-step guideline. Look for this kind of content. An example of high quality this or that would be XYZ. And I've got examples of that.
Let's zoom out a second.
Okay,
Alex,
yeah,
right?
sure.
This is good. So I didn't know that. I thought that they had put it out to webmasters. It's like, hey, use this. Okay, didn't know that. It's an internal document, 168 pages. Let's make this podcast the TLDR, the too long didn't read, because he read it, 168 pages. I did not, so he's going to TLDR it for me and for you out there. But first, let's talk about Google. They're a search engine. They have a mission. Mm-hmm. Their mission is
to organize the world's information. Yep. That's the number one thing that they care about. It's not based around ads, although that's where they get a ton of their revenue. Mm-hmm. Their stated mission is organize the world's information.
Yeah. And so, if you think, why do you use Google? Why does 75% of the world use Google? I don't know if that's U.S. or world. Check me on that. Why? Well, I think it's because they deliver the best answer to your query, right? And so if they're doing their mission right, they're organizing the world's information, then it stands to reason that they can also then deliver the information that you want in half a millisecond. So they're looking for publishers, businesses, publishers, content creators to come out with the best information in their field and mark it up using HTML so that it's easily digestible by Google's indexing spiders. Did I go way nerd too fast? Or
I think that's basically it. Another way to think about what they're trying to do is they're trying to give the user the best experience.
Thank you.
And if they're providing the best answer that's most relevant to what I type in there,
right,
then I'm having the best experience.
Right.
If I have to go through 10 pages of Google to find what I'm looking for, that's not a good experience.
Right.
But as we all know, nobody ever really goes past the first page.
Right.
If you usually see what you want.
Right.
In
or you change your query.
Or you change your query because you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't specific enough, or I'm getting things that don't match my intent.
Right. Good point.
And so one of the ways that Google tries to match up your query with the best quality content is not only through this algorithm, but also kind of double checking it against these more manual principles and
Right.
guidelines. So we can assume that these principles and guidelines outlined in this document are informing their algorithm and vice versa.
Right. Yes, we're making that assumption, making that leap, but it's not a big leap to make. I mean, from our experience, I know you'd agree with this. Like, if you follow these guidelines, you tend to see your site ranking higher for the queries that you want it to rank for.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get the clicks, and then presumably you get the conversions, and then the money. Right.
Yeah.
So let's do this TLDR. So give me the big principle, man. What's the big kind of takeaway here?
Yeah, and so one other thing I want to say is that when we're talking about SEO, a lot of times we can talk about like keywords and length of content and backlinks and this, that, and the other thing. Make sure that your page title and your H1 have the primary keyword you're going after.
All this technical kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like that's all very important, but that's not really what this document outlines. This is more about the quality of the content.
Yes.
And kind of that more qualitative aspect of it, rather than, okay, is the keyword there? Is it relevant to what the user types in? That's kind of assumed as like a precursor. So that's a whole nother topic we could talk about.
Sure.
But we're talking mostly about like the content itself and
the quality
and the quality.
Right.
So the big two things that are outlined in this document, big two concepts that if you don't remember anything else, remember these two things. Google is paying very close attention to what it calls your money or your life pages, and it's evaluating it based on the concept of E.A.T. EAT, which is why I wore my donut shirt today.
He's eating donuts.
And that stands for expertise, authority, and trust.
Okay.
So let's start with your money or your life, because I think that's just important. The E.A.T. applies to everything that Google's looking at.
Yeah, your money or life is kind of a sub-segment. So this is for if your industry has to do with money, so debt consolidation or credit cards or banking or anything your money or your life. So anything health related in this case, right? So health and wellness, I don't know, supplements or hospitals or home care or whatever.
Yep.
This is what we're talking about.
Yep. And so another thing that I didn't even realize until I went through the document was that your money part also applies to any kind of e-commerce or shopping site.
Oh, wow. See? Yeah,
so it doesn't even have to be, something that is
financial
services. It can be literally like, I want to buy a pair of shoes.
Wow.
So, they consider,
because they want it to be secure. Okay.
Exactly.
So it's even broader than what I was talking about. So, wow, this applies to a lot of y'all out there then.
Yeah, anyone running an e-commerce site or any kind of shopping platform, this applies to you as well. It's your money or your life.
So what about that? So what are they saying in the document about your money or your life?
So the E.A.T. aspects that they evaluate a site on to tell whether or not it's high quality, they hold a higher stricture. The bar is higher
for your money or your life.
For your money or your life pages. They're, if it's a recipe for how to bake the best cookies, they're more lenient on that. Or if it's like, a strictly informational, like, how to play, Arsham teaches you how to play guitar.
Right.
Then they're less
strict
on what they would consider high quality.
Okay.
And for your money or life pages, the strictures are much, much higher.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So expertise, authority, and trust.
Exactly. So let me break that down a little bit, because there's overlap between those three, as you can imagine. But generally speaking, expertise is about who wrote the content.
Okay.
So did somebody write this page about, the best way to, defend yourself from a legal issue? Did someone who's a lawyer write that content? Or is it unclear who wrote this content?
Oh, wow, really?
Is there like an author byline who I can go look and see, is actually someone that has an expertise in this field?
Okay.
Does it seem like the quality is in depth and written with a sense of expertise?
Okay.
Is it citing other sources?
Yeah, that's good.
As a reference,
right?
Or is the piece basically just saying, "Trust me"?
Or is it just a bunch of words
claim
on a page?
Yeah.
Because it's the internet. Anyone can just, hey, I read it on the internet. It must be true, right?
Exactly.
So, right. Okay.
And so you can imagine, if Google is putting a bunch of information out there, like, the recommended dosage of aspirin is 10 times what it actually is supposed to be, that could be super, super harmful for
Yes.
somebody. And so Google, it has a vested interest not only in the health and safety of the people using its service,
Sure.
but also kind of like an obligation to present the correct information out there.
Right. That makes sense. So, but like,
yeah.
how does that? What's the implication of that? If I'm like a whatever business owner, or if I'm a VP of marketing, like, how do I? Do you know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
Do I go and
What's
put
the
a buy?
action?
Yeah. What's the action? Do I go
Yeah.
to put a byline on every single one of my service pages or product pages?
Yeah.
No.
So
I mean,
probably not, right?
Right.
But what you do want to make sure is that you are writing content that is showing that you've got an expertise.
Okay.
It's written by somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Mhm.
So a lot of times in marketing departments, the onus to write the content might be on you. You might have to go out and find freelancers that need to write the content because
Right.
you may have internal subject matter experts that aren't able to take the time
Yeah.
to write the content out, especially if you're responsible for producing, multiple blog posts a month and
Mhm.
things like that. And so what you can do is you can either find a freelancer that has
Expertise in that
expertise in that field,
or topic.
or if you have a particular service line or a product that's relatively niche, that there is not a lot of freelancers out there that have the experience. Something that we found really, really effective in our own work as an agency is doing informational interviews with a
Yeah.
subject matter expert. So having someone that knows how to write and
Yeah.
write well and knows how to write for the internet, knows how to write an SEO optimized piece of content,
Right.
do an interview based around keyword research
Yes.
so that it's driven from that marketing strategy, and then you're asking the appropriate questions to pull out the data
From the
that-
subject matter.
from the subject matter expert.
Right.
And then that, in a 15-minute conversation, you can get enough content to write 2 or 3 blog posts, or to really beef up your services pages in a way that shows that expertise. And, you can certainly include an author byline or co-author
Right.
a piece between, your marketing department and the subject matter expert. That's probably more important for like a medical topic or
Right.
a law topic.
Right.
So
That your money, your life stuff again, right?
exactly.
Yep.
So especially if you're operating that kind of field, if you got like software as a service or something like that, a
It may not be
B2B
as
service,
important.
it may not be as important to show that like you have someone that is a software engineer writing
Right.
the piece of content.
Right.
But
Right.
if your target audience is software engineers, they're probably going to be able to tell whether or not a technical person wrote that piece
I
of
would
content.
agree.
You know?
And I'm glad you said keyword research, because I think that's where the marketing department can help make sure. So you want to make sure your piece shows that you're an expert, has expertise, right? Well, people are searching in Google all day, all night about your topic, about your industry. So you can research to see the kind of secondary keywords they're using, and then bring those to the interview of the subject matter expert. So it's like, tell me about the benefits of it. Tell me about the price. Tell me about the, I don't know, competitors. Tell me about whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever you find as a secondary, you as the marketing person bring that to the informational interview of the subject matter expert, thereby really drawing that expertise out.
Yeah.
And
you're directing them again.
Yeah, you're
because,
directing them, right.
The whole reason you're doing it is because the subject matter expert doesn't have a lot of time. So if you can say, look, we're going to be talking about these particular topics because these are the things that we see online that are really, really
That's what
important
people want to know.
That's what people want to know.
I mean, keyword research is basically business intelligence.
Yeah.
It's basically people saying, this is what I want to know about, so tell me about it. Show me that you know about it, and do it in a way, this is where the marketer comes in, writing for the web, do it in a way that is easily digestible, easy for me to read and scan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talk about like thought leadership. I know a lot of folks out there, CMOs are probably like, how do I become a thought leadership in my industry? How can we, promote that? These expert interviews are a great way to demonstrate that thought leadership, because you're literally going to the source, the thought leader, and pairing that with the, like you say, the business intelligence of the keyword research in order to get that, synergy between the marketing department and the, actual subject matter experts. And you put those two things together with the right kind of promotion strategies, all of a sudden you're out there in front of your your user base or your
Yeah,
customer
yeah,
base,
yeah.
saying like, hey, here's some knowledge I'm about to drop on you.
Right.
And all of a sudden you look like a thought leader to them.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that's expertise.
expertise.
In E.A.T.
Yeah. So
Onto
E.A.T. onto A, the authority.
Okay.
And this generally has to do more about where is the content appearing.
Okay.
So expertise, who's writing the content.
Okay.
Authority, where is it appearing?
Okay.
So it's on your site.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, there's kind of like some overlap.
There's overlap.
Here,
Yeah, it feels
you
like.
know? So let me disambiguate a little bit here. So if we were to look at like the site and say, okay, on WebMechanix, who is WebMechanix?
Mm-hmm.
They're a marketing agency.
Sure.
Are they, have they been around for a while?
Uh-huh.
Are they linked to from other kinds of
sources, right?
prominent sources, especially professional organizations or high quality websites?
How about how often do
government
they
websites?
How often do they add new content?
How often do they publish new content? What's the content about?
Right.
Is
it semantically relevant?
Absolutely.
Like, or are they writing about fish one day and then I don't know microphones the next day?
Absolutely. So yeah, and so if we have a bunch of content on SEO, all of a sudden we start publishing content about what the best microphone to use on your podcast is.
It's weird.
Yeah, all of a sudden Google's like, you know what? That's not related to the rest of their content.
You're not an
they
authority.
They might not be an authority on that.
There you go. Well said.
Yeah. So a couple of things there. Obviously, backlinks, references from other places, kind of demonstrate that you're an authority in a particular field. The kind of content that you're producing, the amount of content that you're producing. And like Lee said, the semantic
relevance,
relevance, which it also goes into how your content talks to each other,
right?
Whether or not your content is linking to other relevant pieces. So it kind of goes into the site architecture a little bit as well,
right? Yeah.
So authority encompasses a lot of things, but you can generally think of it as the who. Is the organization? Sorry, the expertise is who created the content.
Yeah.
The authority is where's the content appearing, but also the who of the organization.
Okay, the organization. So right. So the macro, the more macro, like who is the org or the site, really. I mean, in this case.
Yes. Yeah, because you think about a piece of content written on the New York Times. That journalist is not the New York Times,
right?
But because it appeared on the New York Times. Right. They're very authoritative,
right?
So it lends credibility and quality. You can assume that because there's an editorial process and because they know what they're talking about generally, that this piece has a kind of halo effect extending out to it. Right.
Makes sense. Makes sense. There is definitely overlap here because you could have a blog that is thought leadership or like the personal blog, like Seth Godin's blog, right? I mean, that's Seth Godin. That's your expertise and your authority all in one. Yeah. So there is. I see your overlap.
And that's like a personal brand.
That's
kind of
personal
crossover,
brand
for sure.
Right. So does it also then? So E.A.T. trust. Does it also kind of overlap with trust? And
trust definitely has to do with the organization, like where is this appearing? But more so than that, it's about whether or not you can be trusted. So this has to do with what other people think about you.
Okay.
So not only are you being referenced and linked to from other outside authorities, but also are there reviews? Because you could be linked to from a bunch of different places,
but it may be bad.
You could have a bunch of like really crummy reviews that say like, hey, these guys are, not trustworthy. Right. I didn't get the service that I was promised. The quality is very low.
That's a good point.
And so that can be, it's whether or not you're reputable in a sense, and whether or not you can be trusted to provide the correct information, or whether or not people generally have a good experience with you.
So again, back to the action item. So you're talking about reviews in this case.
Yeah.
I think also you could look at your backlink. You could do like a backlink analysis. So you can look at all the companies, or all the sites that link to your site, and look at what anchor text they might be using. Yeah. Is it favorable
or scam?
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But hopefully not.
It's like, check out this scam. Like that's nowhere near as good as like, this awesome service, right? So that goes into trust. So I think, and also who's linking to you, right? Is it just these, SEO wheel, WordPress sites, it's just like ton.
Private blog networks, stay away from those.
Yeah, stay away. Please don't go to Fiverr and buy 20 backlinks for $5. Please don't do that. It will hurt you way more than it hurts you. I mean, helps you.
Yeah.
It won't even help you. It will just hurt you.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
And so not only reviews from things like, Google, Yelp, especially if you're a restaurant or something like
Yeah,
that,
right.
Facebook, whatever you're relevant, there's ones for doctors specifically.
Sure.
So whatever you're,
Even tech, there's G2 Crowd, there's Clutch, there's
for Clutch,
there's a review site for every industry. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And so you want to be monitoring those and monitoring your online reputation. But another place that, and this is straight out of the document that Google says, you look at these places to see, whether or not these people are reputable. Check out news articles about them. Check out Wikipedia articles about them.
Wow.
Check out blog posts from other places, magazine articles that are written about them, forum discussions.
Forum discussions.
So there's a wide range of places that play into your online reputation.
Interesting.
And you can imagine if a potential customer, is going out there looking at you and trying to figure out what your service is, even if I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, I might real quick Google okay, these look really cool, but Google the brand plus reviews or whatever,
All right.
and check out, or if I'm looking for a new phone or whatever,
Sure.
a Mashable article, or there's probably a Reddit post about
Definitely,
it, or a Quora post.
Unquestionably, there's a Reddit and Quora post.
Yeah, and so that's that's something that your customers are probably going to do anyway, but it can also impact Google's reputation, Google's view of you and your reputation for Google. So that's kind of in a nutshell that E.A.T.
Right. So this document, this is very interesting because first off, I thought that it might be, I thought it was external facing. No, it's internal. Okay, to Google. So this is Google telling their search quality team, hey, this is the guidelines to look for. That's A. B. It's not technical almost at all in nature. It's not about are the keywords in one phrase, or are they broken up, or is there semantic or not, or whatever. Is it in the title tag? Is it how many backlinks? I mean, there's some of that in the backlinks, but it's total opposite of that. It's totally about the quality of your content. So now I'm a CMO. This is a framework. I think, is it fair to say?
Oh, yeah.
E.A.T is a framework,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you can kind of use this framework, use this lens to look at your site through and say, are we, what is how would Google rate our expertise? Are we having the subject matters come out and talk and give all, as much detail as possible? Are we answering the questions that people are searching for or querying for in the search engine, right? Or that we think they would be, even though we can do the research and see it. Authority, is our organization viewed as an authority? If we haven't been around a long time, can we do some Will Reynolds RCS, real company stuff, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Give him a shout out. And real company stuff being sponsor some things, get written up, do some press releases. This is a real organization. They're around. They're publishing on a regular basis. They are an authority in their industry or in their space, right?
Yep.
So this is just the lens, basically. And then trust is, how's our reputation? Are we delivering on our promise, on our brand promise? Are we do we have those mentions in articles in Wikipedia and forums, or do we have high ratings on Yelp or on G2 Crowd or whatever, right? Wherever your thing is.
Yeah.
I love this. It's making me think we gotta reevaluate ourselves on this framework.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. There might be people out there listening and saying, I haven't really been thinking about these three things: expertise, authority, and trust. And yet, I'm still ranking pretty well on Google.
Right.
I've got my keyword research down. I've got my backlink profile is really, really healthy. And I don't. What's the relevance of this to somebody like me? And first of all, I would say you're right. It's an additional thing to lay on top.
Yeah.
That's going to take you to the next level,
right,
and allow you to get most likely a better user experience and a better qualitative feeling that your user is going to feel when they visit your site. So these are things that are not necessarily going to come out in a hard metric. You might see like time on site increase a little bit,
Right.
but
Or conversion rate.
and you're probably going to see conversion rate
Right.
increase if you produce higher quality content
Yeah.
that makes people feel like they want to trust
That's
you.
a good
That
point.
makes people feel like you're an authority and that you're better. So
This is way more than SEO in this case.
it's kind of a branding
Yeah.
thing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a good
So you
point.
think about like Apple. You
Yeah.
know, what are their commercials about? Right? It's
Yeah,
always
right.
what kind of feeling do you get when you're
Invoke,
looking
right.
when you're looking at like an Apple commercial? It's
Mhm.
like, okay, this is something that artists use. This is something that makes the world a better place.
Right,
This
right,
is something
right.
for people that
It's easy, it's
are
intuitive,
creative.
it's
It's not about
Right.
how many gigs of RAM it has. It's not about how big the hard drive
right.
is.
It's true, right.
Not really about how awesome the screen looks.
It's how it makes you feel.
It's how it makes you feel.
Mhm.
And so that's such a huge part of marketing. And a lot of times in digital marketing, we can get bogged down with, the metrics and everything like that. But this, I think, is a great framework to pull out away from that and say, okay, but seriously, we just wrote all these blog posts.
Dang it.
Are they actually written in a way that
That's helpful to the user.
is helpful to the user and that expresses our expertise and that they can't get somewhere else? Because if they can get this somewhere else, guess what?
It's not as
Now we're
valuable.
competing on price point,
Right.
and
Now
that's
it's
not a fight.
commoditized.
That's not necessarily a fight you want to be in.
Dang
And
it,
so
Alex.
yeah. So and another thing that I want to say is that even if you've been having a lot of success not thinking about this, I want to talk about August 2018.
Mhm.
So Google regularly rolls out algorithm updates.
Okay.
They're doing these, multiple times a day. Little small tweaks here
Right,
and there.
right.
But every once in a while, something shakes up the industry
Uh-huh.
and shakes up the search results so badly that people take notice of it, and it seems to be a wide-reaching, large change. And these usually have a name. So, like Penguin
Mhm.
was a big backlink one
Yeah.
that a lot of people came out. Well, August 2018, something rolled out that people have been calling Medic. So
Okay.
we were talking about your money or your life pages. So they noticed that a lot of medical device and medical product sites all of a sudden were going from one on Google, second page, third page, dropping like
Wow.
stones, kind of like overnight.
Wow.
And this actually also, later on in like September, financial sites also saw some issues
Yeah, some
coming.
dropping and ranking.
dropping in
Less traffic.
rankings. And for long time sites that have been up there for a while
Wow.
that have been doing very, very well.
What was the why?
So, and
It was E.A.T.
it was E. That's what people have been, and a lot of times there's not a lot of information coming out
Right.
from
Yeah, of
Google
course, right.
about, and sometimes there is. Matt Cutts, if you're not following him on Twitter or
Mhm.
checking out what he's doing, he's a guy over at Google that actually, people will ask him questions about the
Yeah.
algorithm, and he'll give, a lot of times he'll give really good answers.
Right.
So Matt Cutts is someone to check out. But when this happened in August, there was really no information. And believe me, I was checking. I was like, okay, so what is
I
this?
need to know.
What's happening here? What are the changes that Google's made to the algorithm to prioritize different things about content, about sites? Well, as it turns out, some very, very smart people out there got together and analyzed all the sites and ran some experiments. And they found that focusing on these E.A.T guidelines
Mhm.
was something that they were able to do in order to bring
They
their
were able to
sites back.
pinpoint and say, hey, if we follow these guidelines, then we can come back. Or the sites that follow the guidelines didn't get hit as hard or hit at all. This is crazy because we started this episode out saying, hey, this is SEO. I love SEO. You're the SEO SME, subject matter expert in search engine optimization. But you know what? This is so much more. So much more than search engine optimization. This is about your brand. This is about your positioning. This is about creating fantastic user experiences. The results of which, if you create this great, user experience, then the result of that might be you ranking higher on Google,
Mhm.
okay, fine, or on Bing, or Yahoo, take your pick. The result of which might also be, though, more time on site, like you were saying, a higher conversion rate, or even more referrals from more word of mouth from your customer base or future customer base to your future customer base, more referrals. So I think that this topic, you just took it from, I mean, you blew my mind because I thought we were coming in here talking about, you know what I mean? Seriously, I'm not kidding. I thought we were going to talk about SEO, but really, this is this framework, this concept, this lens is much, much, much bigger than just search engine optimization.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this Medic algorithm update is, okay, the impact was on rankings and therefore on traffic,
Mhm.
but those businesses lost a lot more than that, I think,
yeah.
or at least because they lost a lot more than that because now they're not getting that traffic. So if you're not getting that traffic organically, there's no way that or it's going to be much more difficult for you to build your brand,
Mhm.
right? Whereas if you're building your brand and you're coming up in the rankings, you're getting organic traffic and you're getting word of mouth, and then you're getting some email and some advertising traffic, and you're just creating that great user experience. You're going to be so I think this is it's a long-term thing. Like if search engine optimization can be sometimes, it's like you can do certain things on your site. Like we call, what do we do for short-term gains in SEO?
Like a quick win for
Yeah,
SEO.
yeah.
So, you can look at if you're assuming that you're tracking your keywords, you can look at tipping point keywords
Uh-huh.
that are, just about at the top of the second page of Google. Go in and find a place where you can use those and find a piece of content or write a new piece of content
Mhm.
that targets those keywords
Yeah.
in a better way.
Extend that page that's ranking, make it
Uh-huh.
even longer, add some expertise to it. Right?
Absolutely. And, we would call that an AWOP,
Mhm.
using the anatomy of a well-optimized page.
AWOP.
Take an existing piece of content and add some keywords to it, add some additional value to it.
Mhm. Maybe add some rich media to it, right? Add some images, add some video
images
to
and
it.
videos,
Mhm.
absolutely.
So that's like a short-term tactic, but that's like short-term and kind of tactical
Yeah.
as it pertains to search engine optimization. But this Google guideline, this 168 page document, and this kind of E.A.T, expertise, authority, and trust lens. This is way more long-term. I mean, this is an investment.
Yeah, so Ashim, I know you're a financial guy, CFO of the year.
Don't have to remind them.
So, what's the most magic thing in economics or in personal finance? If you're thinking about this is the compound interest.
That's right.
Right. So if you've got a retirement account or something like
compounding
that,
returns. Yeah.
let's
sure.
say if you got money in there, it could be doubling every 7 years.
Mhm.
And maybe I say I want that $100 right now to go buy a lot of ice cream for me and my friends.
Yes.
But if that $100
Lot
when
of ice
I'm
cream.
65 is going to be $10,000,
Yeah.
then maybe I delay that gratification.
Sure.
Make that investment up front. I think that
Good
when we're talking about marketing, a lot of times CMOs, you got quarterly deadlines, you got
Yeah.
quotas that you have to hit. Sales team is knocking on your door saying, "Where are my leads?"
Yeah.
So it's important to hit those things. But if you can take maybe 10%, think about like a retirement account.
Good
Take
point.
10% of your efforts or your hours or whatever, and put those into a longer term investment, like building the brand, like building the expertise, like
Right.
producing some more long form, higher quality content.
Putting process in place to get that higher quality content out there.
Absolutely, that's
Brilliant.
even better. That's an investment on your investment.
Or can I give another example? Is marketing? To your point, we feel for you marketers out there because you do have these deadlines, these quotas, these goals to meet. But it could be all for naught if your company goes under because you focus too much on the short term. So another thing to look at is your reviews and are you delighting your customers, right? So I think marketers. I talked to Jeff Goldsher about this, where you're not. Marketers, yes, like they sit in marketing, but they also can impact sales. Obviously, they can also impact the product too, the product or the service, because they can go and they can glean insights from the customer to then bring back to the product or service team to say, hey, our customers are saying this, or the market is saying that. We should probably focus on that, and that's going to help your reputation.
Absolutely.
Thereby helping the trust.
Absolutely. Marketers can't just stay in the marketing department.
Exactly. I'm sorry to cut you off there, man, but it's just to Alex's point, something you might be able to do then is kind of look at the hours in your day or in your week or month and look at where they're being applied, and then purposefully take some chunk of them. You choose the chunk to focus on activities that may not bear fruit overnight or over a month or even a quarter, but will bear fruit in the future, in the longer term, measured in months, quarters, years, even.
Yeah. It's the same thing, anytime you do that high level thinking, pull out, use a framework, it's not necessarily going to give you stuff that you're going to use today.
Yeah.
Although there is very tactical stuff.
There is very tactical stuff.
We're putting together a blog post that's going to have
Yeah.
kind of like a checklist and more kind of tactical things to address these things. But just, as we're talking about today, the high level overview, the framework is going to give you the things that are going to help guide your decision-making process.
Yes, well put.
So that you are saying like, oh, okay, how many blog posts should we do? Well, can we produce X amount at a high quality?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we cut that back a little bit, produce some that are kind of like our quick, like, bam, 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 just to keep the content churning.
Right.
But let's also invest in, some bigger pieces, maybe once a month, once
a
every
research
couple of
piece,
months.
an ebook, a white paper, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Or some video content or something. So what I hear you saying is less quantity, more quality, potentially. Potentially, that's that's an outcome of this kind of thinking.
Potentially, and diversify your portfolio is another way to think about it.
Sure.
Have your very, very high quality. Obviously, if everything can be high quality, that's great.
Sure.
But knowing that we're operating under limited resources as marketers, you have to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
So this is a prioritization kind of opportunity. Try to put some of those resources and efforts into this higher quality stuff.
Yeah. Hey man, I think we should end it here because
Sure.
we can go on forever.
Too much
right?
to talk about.
And we have a blog post coming out right here. How many pages is this already?
It's going to talk about all that.
We got you here. I guess shameless plug. WebMechanix.com. Subscribe to our blog, and I'll make sure that this particular piece, when it comes out, is also then sent out in our newsletter to make sure, because this is good. I mean, I glanced over it, and this is fantastic content. It's kind of contrary to some of the tactical stuff that and quick win stuff that we talk about sometimes. But I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love this framework. Thank you for too long didn't reading the 168 pages because, like you said, limited resources. Y'all don't want to be out there reading 168 pages when someone like Dr. Swope here can consolidate it for you. So hopefully this was really helpful to all y'all out there. Thank you, Alex. Any closing remarks? Anything else you want to slip in there? Or?
No, I mean, thank you for having me. What was really helpful about this was going back to that primary source. So I encourage all the marketers out there. Like, I love
that's a good point.
Love all the search engine journal articles. I love all the folks that I follow on Twitter and things like that. But go back to those original sources because I dug out a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have found otherwise.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. So, go back to the source. Google. They're organizing the world's information. That's their mission. They put out information on how to do that and how you can help them do that. Listen to them, right?
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Put it here, man. That was really cool. Subscribe, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Cheers.